Hello, Edward Dumancus. Um, this is the second episode or installment of Wing Chun and a Cup of Tea. And again, I am Edward Dumancus. Um, we did our first one yesterday, and uh, and hopefully I will get better at this. So anyway, one of the things I did get some feedback is that yesterday's video was there were moments when the volume was too soft. So I'll do my best to speak a little louder. Luckily today, and I'm still on my deck here. Luckily today, we don't have much wind at all. So and um, and I found a better place to be. I'm sitting down now. There's my cup of tea. The cup is a little hot right now. I can't. I had a hard time getting it out here. Um, so, but before I forget, the third episode or edition installment to Wing Chun and a Cup of Tea, we will have. It'll be a conference call with a guest. Um, Ralph Bothell Malay, I know I just screwed that up. I'm sorry, Ralph. Will be our guest, and he is a longtime martial artist. Just recently started training with me. Um, he is also a very successful business owner, so a very impressive guy. As I get to learn about him a little bit more, I'm finding out he's successful because he has these attributes that many of us that I don't have anyway. And he knows a lot. It was actually, I want to say, it may have been his idea to start the Zoom training, but I also have a couple other guys, Mackenzie and Alex, who are both computer savvy as well, and they joined in and are giving me advice. So I do apologize if the video is not the best quality. If maybe there are moments when I'm speaking too loud or too soft. I do plan on getting better. It'll take some practice. And again, for those who do not know, the cup of tea has a lot more to just as a title, but it is when I'm finished with this cup of tea, it will be the end of the video for today. And so it's not as hot right now. It's still a little cold. I think somewhere in the 50s. And the tea is just right. I wanted to share a little bit of history. This is more importantly, important for those that have trained with me and for a while. And like many other instructors, students come and go. But I've never, over the years, and this always happened during Chinese New Year, we would have lunch, whether it was in Chinatown. In Seattle, Chinatown is a very difficult place to be. No parking, crowded. So we end up, I used to go there every year, but now we have found another place to go to. So, but we'd have lunch. And every now and then, I'd bring little trinkets to give out. One of them were like little Buddhas like this one. And the idea wasn't mine. It actually came from my Sifu Scott Cohen in California when I was training Tonglong with him, Prey Mantis. Northern South, Thai Mantis is the school. And I don't remember if it had any significant timing of the year. I just remember one day walking into the Kun, and he had his Sihings had a youth class. And they were training, and I walked in the back while Sifu was normally tending to his bills and stuff. And he said, "Oh, Ed, and had all these Buddhas, big ones, really small ones. Ed grabbed one, pick any one. And I really did want the big ones, but I thought to myself, no, don't do that. Don't take the smallest one either. So I grabbed this one. See if you get a better look at it. Yeah. This was 1991, I think. I don't remember anymore. So that would make this at least 19 years old that I've owned it. And, you know, here that I'm home and like everyone else, I've been doing some cleaning. And of course, this was in the shelf and I looked at it and I thought, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity to share this story. So now those that do have it, they still have the Buddhas that they've collected from me. They know where the idea came from. Sifu Scott Cohen. Anyway, I want to continue the topic from yesterday. I spoke a little bit about the differences. I made some comparisons between MMA and Wing Chun. I want to kind of touch on that a little bit. Not so much comparisons, but how did we get here today as a martial artist? How did we move beyond the traditional art? Some people justifiably will say, Bruce Lee brought this up years ago when he was working on the art of Jeet Kune Do. I think prior to that, Jun Fan, and before that, Wing Chun. So, and well, over time, through competition, UFC, those that did compete realized that every art, mostly every art, had something good to learn, and maybe a lot of stuff that weren't so good. And now you have to remember, you're talking about two people in a ring that are both skilled. We're not talking about just applying a self-defense technique against some robber. We're talking about two skilled practitioners in a ring and finding out that, hey, this technique didn't work, you know. And ultimately, that's what happens, right? You get two people in a ring, and it is the one who is best able to conceal their weaknesses while at the same time violating the other person's weaknesses, right? The moment they recognize, I can get in, whatever that is, I'm going to violate it. I'm going to repeat what I do until they figure out an answer, in which case it will open up another weakness. So, Wing Chun itself has many weaknesses. It's a good art. It really is a good art if you stick to the concepts and the theories behind it. But like any other, there are weaknesses that you must truly be aware of. It is funny. So I've been watching, not a lot, but lately, some competition in China between a Wing Chun guy and an MMA guy, between another Wing Chun guy against another MMA guy. Of course, the Wing Chun guy gets slaughtered. And it's funny because the commentators, like, they expect certain Wing Chun moves, which is going to, whether or not it was applied or not applied, the Wing Chun guy will get slaughtered anyway, because the commentators themselves don't truly understand the art of Wing Chun. They think, so I'm best, right? And the Wing Chun practitioner doesn't use it in the ring anyway, right? But the moment those center line punches come into play, oh yes, I saw a Wing Chun technique. That is the worst technique ever if you're trying to bridge. It's a great technique, but it has its moments. It has its strengths, definitely, but a whole bunch of weaknesses. You would never, ever, I don't at least, teach guys that train with me to go ahead and bridge doing the Wing Chun, the multiple chain blast. No way, no way possible. Okay, well then if it's such a good technique, when do you use it? When you're close. When there is absolutely no way the other opponent can do anything about it because you are inside and you're tight, and now you blast away. But you don't use it to bridge. And there are other techniques, like any other techniques. So when you're really close up, this close, pop, 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 and now you can get in, and those punches will apply. But you don't also just keep using them. It is now to search and destroy, meaning as you're punching, he's got to cover up, right? At some point in time, that person will cover up. And when they do, is when you begin to search for other techniques. Maybe you can do an arm bar. Maybe you can turn his center and go after his throat, right? So, and Wing Chun does have sweeps. Maybe you turn his corner and catch him on a sweep. So, the issue with the Wing Chun guys, in China especially, I think I brought this up, unfortunately, many of them don't have any skill in the ring. And just as important, if not more important, they haven't figured out, like everyone else, they need to evolve. Jiu-jitsu today is not the same jiu-jitsu 40 years ago. If it was, we wouldn't have Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We'd still have Japanese jiu-jitsu, right? Karate has also evolved. Maybe the practice is still the same somewhat, but they probably do more fighting. You know, when I trained in karate, we did all sets, and then it's a 1-2 step application. You know, punch, like that. I really don't know how to do that anymore. I did at one time. So I would hope even the Taekwondo schools have evolved to not just utilize their legs, right? So while you have a training style, it's not actually, I take that back, not a style, but a training regimen that puts together different tools from different disciplines, blends them in, and make that work. The Wing Chun or the traditional school needs to do the same. I don't ever, by the way, tell my guys, if you have to defend yourself, do this. Stand out there in front of them. People will laugh at you. You're going to get hurt. So, you know, you need to evolve. Like maybe learning how to get into a Western style boxing stance. The Wing Chun techniques can still apply if you know how to use your hips, if you know how to shuffle your feet. So it's not a good time for like practitioners in China, or maybe it's a great time. Maybe it's a time for them to realize that while they were held in captivity because of their government, you know, they can go out and explore and see what's going on. And here we have the internet that sees everything. And then we have a competition that does everything. Then maybe they will learn to evolve too. As for the Wing Chun schools here in the United States, we don't have an excuse, right? We should, I'm not talking about modified Wing Chun. I'm talking about a Wing Chun school that teaches traditional concepts and practices structured movements and building a modified fighting theory to work with those techniques. So, you know, I think my tea it's almost finished. I will be putting together a video, training video, in the next couple of days. This Wing Chun and a cup of tea is giving me some practice, being in front of my cell phone or a camera and letting it go out. They are going to be traditional movements as I teach them. If you're a Wing Chun practitioner, I highly recommend you train with me. Of course, you should practice. Some exercises better than none. Instead of being at home like what I'm doing right now, eating cookies and cake. But if you're not from our school and the movements look a little odd, I'd still say train. If you're not a Wing Chun practitioner at all, I say train anyway. What we can do is utilize this moment, Wing Chun and a cup of tea, and you can share your questions and I can possibly try to answer them here, or the questions can be asked on the other videos, the training videos, and I will do my best to answer your questions. But remember, these are going to be basic concepts, basic movements. In order to get good at it, in order to understand it, will require more practice. So anyway, so the next one, we have that conference call. That's our guest, Ralph. And in the future, if you are from another discipline and you want to join in and be interviewed, just let me know. I welcome you to come, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about your art and the things that you do. And it's okay to talk about, you know, the strengths of your school and maybe the weaknesses. I know that there are. The question is whether or not you're willing to share that. So anyway, I have taken my last sip of my tea. And I look forward to our next one, which is going to be in a couple of days. One final thing. I think I will probably do like twice a week. I don't want this to be boring. I don't want to be in front of my cell phone not knowing what to say. And I'm not the type to write things down and plan it out. I prefer it to be real fluid. I think it's very honest that way. No different from having to defend yourself. Everything's got to be very fluid. But until that day, until we see each other again, train, understand the strengths and weaknesses of your art, learn to conceal them, and start thinking about learning to violate someone else's weaknesses. Signing out, Ed Dumancus, Wing Chun Kung Fu. Bye.